Hello, my name is Dr. Anthony James, professor at Miami University. And I would like to post a video about adolescent development, particularly the science of adolescent development. And as I have listed on the screen here, the critical things I want to talk about is how do we know what we know about adolescent development? Or how do we sift through all of the things we hear about adolescent development? As many students in my class are aware of, there has been a long-standing dominant view of adolescent development, the storm and stress view. And as I've described, this is a myth. And the positive youth development perspective is more accurate and gaining more traction. And one way we can make determinations about how do we know what we know, or whether or not we should believe something we hear, is to examine the science behind the claims that are being made. And I just want to talk about two critical things. One, correlational versus causation research, and cross-sectional versus longitudinal research. And correlational versus causation research really talks about strength and direction of the relationship between variables. Correlation talks about whether or not two variables are related, systematically related relative to each other in some way. So I have some arrows here on the screen. These are what we call positive relationships between a variable. So as one variable goes down or decreases, the other variable goes down or decreases, or scores on that variable, how it's measured. So if we are looking at, let's say for going, scores on one variable increase and scores on another variable increase, if we look at positive behaviors between spouses, so if we count those up in a given time period, say a day, and satisfaction with the relationship, I would guess that what we will probably see is as more positive behaviors are exchanged between the members of the couple, the more satisfied they are with the relationship. So that's a positive relationship. Or as those positive behaviors go down, relationship satisfaction may go down. Again, still positive, but these the relationship between these variables are going systematically in the same direction, either down or decreasing, or up or increasing. Now, the strength of that would be related to a statistical number that says, is it a strong relationship or is it a weak relationship? And we measure that between 0.0 and 0.1. So 0 is a no relationship at all, and 1 is the perfect relationship. Okay? A negative relationship would be if one goes down and the other goes up, or if one goes up and the other go down. These are both negative relationships. So the systematic relation to each other is that as scores on one variable goes up, scores on the other variable goes down. Okay, and both of these are just correlation. We're not saying that one variable caused the other. Okay, one variable caused the other, or this caused this. We're just saying that they're related somehow. It could be the case that this one causes this one. It could also be the case that this one causes that one. There's no way to know. In order to make those determinations, we have to go to causation research. Show that this variable caused this one, or this variable caused that one. That's very hard to prove in social research. So most of our research is just correlational, showing that these variables are simply related to each other, and that difference is significant, that there's a significant relationship somehow. Okay, let me move on to cross-sectional versus longitudinal, just real quick. And I'm not trying to go too deeply into these, just trying to give you some different ways of thinking about them from what you may have read in a textbook. Cross-sectional versus longitudinal, these really relate to how many times were the participants in the study assessed. Cross-sectional is what many people describe as a snapshot in time. So some group of individuals were assessed possibly on two separate variables at one time. And it allows you to give a description of what things are like. So if you're interested in the happiness of sophomores or 15-year-olds, then you assess 15-year-olds on some measure of happiness, and that's it. And you do the analysis, and you can make determinations about, hey, sophomores or 15-year-olds are generally this happy, and that's it. It's just a snapshot in time, a general description. Longitudinal is that you assess participants more than once. There's a little bit of debate about how often or how much time has to be between assessments, but generally, as long as there is more than one assessment, that's considered longitudinal research. If it's two assessments, so you assessed those 15-year-olds during their sophomore year, then you come back and assess them during their junior year, now you can say, give descriptions about their happiness in 10th grade as well as their happiness in 11th grade. And because you're assessing the same individuals, you can show change in happiness over time, in this case over the course of 1 year. Okay, if it's three assessments, say you go back and measure them again in 12th grade, then you have three descriptions or three assessments, 3 points in time. Now you can give a pattern, because you can say more than just whether happiness changes from 10th to 11th grade going up, or from 10th to 11th grade going down, or 10th to 11th grade staying the same over time. Now you can say if there's a pattern, maybe it goes up in junior year but then down a little bit in senior year, or some other pattern. And that's sort of the gold standard, not sort of, that's the gold standard of adolescent research, because it allows us to see change over time in individuals, within individuals. And this really allows us to see how adolescents transition through this period of life. And so if we have representative studies that gives us patterns of development, then we can make some statements about what adolescent development is like. We can describe adolescent development. We can explain possibly why that's why adolescents experience what they do, or even optimize development. What happens in that pattern if you add additional variables like family support or peer support or bullying. Those are the types of studies we're really trying to do currently in adolescent development to really strengthen our knowledge about this period of life. Most of the research at this point is still cross-sectional, but more and more we have some sophisticated longitudinal analysis that allow us to examine change over time. Okay, hopefully this video gives you a little bit more knowledge about research and the science of adolescent development. Keep in mind, as we try to describe, explain, and optimize adolescent development, be skeptical about the things you hear. Challenge those things. Think about them critically. This is what allows us to really be informed about this period of life and truly optimize the development of youth. Thank you for your time.